The first thing Clara Bennett noticed was that every person around the rooftop pool had suddenly stopped talking. A second earlier, there had been music, soft laughter, champagne glass touching, water moving beneath the afternoon sun. Then Dante Romano looked directly at her, and the entire atmosphere changed. Clara stood waist-deep in the infinity pool, one hand pushing wet strands of dark brown hair away from her face, completely unaware that the most feared man in Chicago had been watching her for the last 11 seconds. She had accidentally crossed into the private section of the rooftop. She knew that now. The black marble sign beside the water had probably been there for a reason. Private Romano reservation? But Clara had not seen it. She had spent the morning answering emails, solving a staffing problem, and dealing with a wedding coordinator who had called her 3 times before breakfast. This was supposed to be her first day off in almost 4 months. She had promised herself she would spend it doing absolutely nothing. No schedules, no guests, no emergencies, no employees calling her name. Just sunlight, water, and a quiet afternoon above Chicago. Then she had swum too far, and now every person around the pool seemed to be looking at her, especially the man in black. Dante Romano sat beneath a large white umbrella at the far end of the terrace. He was dressed in a perfectly fitted black suit despite the heat. No tie, white shirt, dark watch, one hand resting against the arm of his chair. 3 men stood behind him, not hotel employees, security. Clara knew enough about wealthy guests to recognize the difference. These men did not look like bodyguards hired for appearances. They looked like men who expected trouble. Clara slowly backed away from the private section. "I'm sorry," she called. Dante did not answer. His eyes remained fixed on her, not on her swimsuit, not on her appearance, on her face. That somehow made Clara more uncomfortable. "I'm leaving." She turned. Dante finally spoke. "Close the pool." His voice was quiet, but every guard heard him. Within seconds, men in dark suits appeared from different entrances. One moved toward the elevator. Another spoke into an earpiece. A hotel employee stared in confusion. Guests began whispering. Clara looked back at Dante. "Excuse me?" He stood. "Everyone leaves." The music stopped. The pool staff froze. Clara's face burned. She looked around at the other guests, then back at Dante. "You don't have to embarrass me." His expression changed almost imperceptibly. "Miss Bennett." She stopped. She had never told him her name. Something cold moved through her stomach. "How do you know my name?" Dante took one step toward her. "Get out of the water." "Why?" His eyes shifted toward the opposite side of the terrace, then back to her. "Because you're standing exactly where someone wants you to stand." A sharp crack split the air. For one fraction of a second, Clara did not understand what she had heard. Then the glass behind her exploded. Dante moved. He reached her before she could scream. His arm wrapped around her waist. He pulled her down. His body covered hers as another shot tore across the rooftop. People screamed. Chairs overturned. Glass shattered. Security moved instantly. Clara felt Dante's hand against the back of her head, holding her down against his chest. "Stay down." Her heart slammed against her ribs. "What's happening?" "Someone is trying to kill me." Another gunshot. Dante tightened his grip. "And you just walked into the middle of it." For the next 30 seconds, Clara saw almost nothing except flashes. Men running. Guests being dragged toward the elevators. Security shouting into radios. The pool water rippling from the vibration of distant impacts. And Dent. Always Dante. He never panicked. Even with bullets striking the terrace, he moved with terrifying calm. He pulled Clara behind a stone column and crouched beside her. "Are you hurt?" "No." "Look at me." She did. His eyes searched her face. "Are you sure?" "Yes." Only then did he seem to breathe. Clara stared at him. "You knew." Dante's jaw tightened. "I suspected." "You knew there was going to be a shooting?" "I knew someone was coming for me." "Then why did you bring me here?" "I didn't." His eyes hardened. "You brought yourself here." Clara almost laughed from disbelief. "You are unbelievable." "Probably." Another guard approached. "Boss, The shooter is gone. Duntasted. Lock the building. Already done. Nobody leaves. Clara's head snapped toward him. Nobody? Dante looked at her. You included. I don't work for you. I know. Then I'm leaving. No. The word was quiet. Absolute. Clara stared at him. Who exactly do you think you are? Dante stepped closer. The man who just kept you from getting shot. And now you're kidnapping me? No. His gaze dropped briefly to her hand. She was shaking. He noticed. I am keeping you alive. Clara swallowed. I can take care of myself. I believe you. That answer surprised her. Dante's expression softened by the smallest degree. That's why I'm worried. 2 hours later, Clara sat inside Dante Romano's private penthouse overlooking the Chicago River. She had spent most of those 2 hours arguing. Dante had won every argument without raising his voice. That irritated her more than if he had shouted. The penthouse was enormous. Glass walls, white stone, dark wood, a piano no one appeared to play. The city spread beneath them like a field of light. Clara stood beside the window with her arms crossed. I need to call my hotel. You already did. I need to go home. Your apartment is being watched. She turned. By whom? We don't know. Then find out. We are... How convenient. Dante looked at her. You think I enjoy this? I don't know what you enjoy. I don't enjoy much. That explains the personality. For the first time, something almost like amusement appeared in his eyes. It vanished quickly. Clara noticed anyway. You almost smiled. No, you did. You imagined it. You're terrible at lying. Dante walked toward the bar. I've been told. Clara watched him pour water. No alcohol. No dramatic glass of whiskey. Nothing about him matched the monster she had expected. That frightened her more. Because monsters were easy. Human beings were complicated. You knew my name before I told you. Dante set the glass down. You're the general manager of the Belgrave. Yes, I know. Why? Because the hotel belongs to me. Clara stared at him. What? Dante said nothing. Her eyes widened. You own the Belgrave? Among other properties. And you knew who I was? Yes. Before today? Yes. How long? Several months. Her stomach tightened. Why? Dante looked at her. Because someone has been watching you. Silence. Clara's voice became quieter. Why? That's what I'm trying to find out. That night, Clara discovered something even worse. Dante Romano was not simply a wealthy businessman. He was the head of one of Chicago's most powerful criminal organizations. The realization came from a television screen. A news report showed footage of the rooftop pool. The headline mentioned an attempted assassination. Then Dante's name appeared. Romano crime. Family suspected in Chicago power struggle. Clara slowly turned toward him. You lied to me. Dante stood near the window. I didn't tell you. That's the same thing. No. She looked at him. What are you? Dante's expression became completely unreadable. The man people are afraid of. You're a mafia boss. He did not deny it. Clara stepped backward. Then why am I here? Because you are in danger. Because of you? Partly. She laughed once. It contained no humor. You don't get to protect me from a danger you brought to me. Dante's eyes darkened. I didn't bring this to you. You brought yourself into my life. He accepted the accusation. Yes. And now, I'm supposed to trust you? No. He moved closer. I'm asking you to survive long enough to decide whether you should. That answer stayed with her. The following morning, Clara attempted to leave. She reached the private elevator. Dante was waiting. Where are you going? Home. No. I didn't ask permission. I know. Then move. He didn't. Clara lifted her chin. You don't own me. Dante's expression changed. No. He stepped aside. I don't. Clara walked past him, then stopped. She looked back. If I leave, will you follow me? Yes. Why? Because someone wants you dead. She studied him. And if I tell you I don't want your protection, Dante's voice lowered, then I'll protect you from a distance. Something about that answer made her heart beat faster. She hated it. She hated that this terrifying man seemed incapable of pretending he did not care. The first real attack came that evening. Clara had insisted on returning to the Belgrave to check on her staff. Dante allowed it, but he followed. The hotel lobby was crowded. Guests, employees, wedding parties, business travelers, normal life. Clara almost relaxed. Then she noticed Dante looking at the security monitors. "What is it?" He didn't answer. His eyes moved across the lobby. One man, then another, then a third. Something had changed in his expression. "Clara." She turned. "Come here." "What?" "Now." She heard the urgency. She moved. Dante reached her just as a man near the revolving doors pulled something from beneath his coat. Dante grabbed Clara. The shot never came. A guard tackled the man. Chaos erupted. Clara pressed against Dante's chest. His hand rested against her back. "You're safe." She looked up. His face was inches from hers. "How did you know?" Dent stared at her. "I've spent my entire life knowing when someone is about to pull a trigger. And now?" His eyes moved across her face. "Now I'm learning when someone is about to become important to me." Clara stopped breathing. Dante stepped away. Neither spoke. Days passed. The investigation deepened. The assassin at the pool had been using information available only to senior members of Dante's organization. That meant there was a traitor. Dante trusted almost no one. His oldest lieutenant, Victor Hale, insisted he could find the traitor. Clara didn't trust Victor. She couldn't explain why. There was something about his smile. Too easy, too polished, too controlled. One afternoon, Clara mentioned it to Dante. "You don't like him." "I don't." "Why?" "He watches people when he thinks they're not watching him." Dante looked at her. "You notice that?" "I'm a hotel manager." "What does that have to do with anything?" "I notice people." Dante's expression changed. "So do I." Clara felt the tension between them. "What?" "I've noticed you." Her pulse quickened. "That's not the same thing." "No." His voice was quieter. "It isn't." The emotional distance between them began disappearing. Not quickly, not easily, but inevitably. Dante never forced Clara to stay near him. He never touched her without permission. Yet somehow, she kept finding herself beside him. At breakfast, in the library, on the balcony, late at night when Chicago glittered beneath them. She discovered he hated thunderstorms. He discovered she loved old jazz records. She learned that he never slept more than 4 hours. He learned that Clara cried whenever she heard the song her mother used to sing. Small things, human things, things that made Dante less frightening, and therefore more dangerous to her heart. One night, Clara found him standing alone on the balcony. "You should sleep. So should you." "I can't." "Why?" He looked at her. "Because you're here." Clara's breath caught. "That's not my fault." "I know." He turned away. "That's the problem." Then Clara discovered the truth about the pool. Dante had not ordered everyone out because she had embarrassed herself. He had ordered the pool emptied because the assassin had been standing behind her. A photograph from security footage showed the exact moment. A man near the bar, his eyes fixed on Clara. Not Dante. Clara. The assassin had been using her as a visual distraction. Dante had realized it when she crossed into his section. The first bullet had not been aimed at Dante. It had been aimed through Clara. She stared at the image. "He was going to shoot me." "Yes." "How did you know?" Dante's voice was quiet. "I saw him watching you." She looked at him, "And you didn't even know me." "I knew enough." "Enough for what?" Dante held her gaze. "Enough to know I wasn't going to let him hurt you." The discovery changed something between them. That night, Clara found Dante in the kitchen. She leaned against the doorway. "You saved me." He looked at her. "Yes." "Why?" "Because I could." "That's not an answer." Dante put down the glass in his hand. "Because when I saw that man looking at you, I realized something." "What?" "I couldn't watch you die." Clara's heart hurt. She walked closer. "You're afraid." "I am." "Of what?" He looked directly at her. "Losing you." The silence between them became unbearable. Dante reached toward her. Stopped. His hand fell. Clara noticed. You were going to touch me. Yes. Why did you stop? Because I don't know if you want me to. She stepped closer. I think I do. Dante's restraint broke. He touched her face. Gently, almost reverently. Then he kissed her. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't violent. It was the opposite. Years of control collapsing into one quiet moment. When they separated, Clara rested her forehead against his. This is a terrible idea. I know you're a mafia boss. I know you're dangerous. Yes. She looked into his eyes. And I'm still here. His arms tightened around her. That's what scares me. The betrayal came 3 days later. Victor Hale disappeared. So did several members of Dante's security team. Then the penthouse alarms activated. Dante knew immediately. Get down. Clara froze. Dent. Now. The windows exploded. Security rushed into the room. Dante pulled Clara behind the marble wall. Stay here. I'm not leaving you. You don't get to make that decision. I just did. He looked at her. Even in the middle of chaos, something passed between them. Then Dante kissed her forehead. Stay alive. He disappeared into the smoke. Clara waited. Seconds passed. Then a gunshot. Then another. She couldn't stay hidden. She ran. She found Dante in the hallway, blood running down his shirt. Then, I'm fine. You're bleeding. It's not serious. She grabbed him. You are impossible. And you're disobeying me. Yes. He almost smiled. Then Victor appeared. He was holding a gun. Romano. Dante turned. Victor looked at Clara. This is what destroyed you. Dante's eyes became cold. No. He stepped in front of her. She saved me. Victor laughed. She made you weak. Dante's voice became almost emotionless. No. He looked at Clara. She reminded me why I was strong. The final confrontation took them back to the rooftop pool. The same place where everything had begun. The pool had been emptied. The city lights reflected against the black water. Victor stood near the edge. You should have died that day, he told Dante. Dante stared at him. So should you. Victor smiled. I had the entire organization under my control. Until you made one mistake. Victor looked at Clara. What mistake? Dante answered. You underestimated her. Clara stepped forward. Victor raised his weapon. Dante immediately moved in front of her. But Clara stopped him. No. Dante looked back. What? I know what he's doing. Victor's expression changed. Clara had noticed something no one else had. The security cameras, the pool's private network, the system she had helped install years earlier when she became manager of the hotel. Everything Victor had said was being recorded. Clara smiled. You've been talking for 10 minutes. Victor froze. To who? The police? His face changed. Dante looked at her. For once, he seemed genuinely surprised. You planned this? No. Clara shook her head. I trusted my instincts. Victor raised his weapon. Dante moved. The final confrontation lasted seconds. Security stormed the rooftop. Victor was disarmed, and the empire he had built through betrayal began collapsing before sunrise. Months later, Dante changed. Not completely. He was still powerful, still intimidating, still feared. But he no longer wanted to be feared by the person he loved. He dismantled the most violent parts of his organization. He turned legitimate businesses over to independent management. He gave evidence to federal investigators. And he stopped living as though every relationship had to end in betrayal. Clara returned to her hotel. She kept her position. She kept her independence. She kept her apartment. And she kept Dante at a distance whenever she needed it. He respected that. One evening, she found him waiting outside the hotel. No guards. No convoy. Just Dante. You came alone. I did. Why? I wanted to ask you something. What? He opened his hand. Inside was a small silver key. Clara frowned. What is that? The private rooftop. She smiled. You want to reserve the pool? No. He stepped closer. I want to give you access to every part of my life. Her smile disappeared. Dante took her hand. I spent my entire life believing power meant controlling everything around me. He looked into her eyes. Then you walked into my pool by accident. Clara laughed softly. I ruined your day. You changed my life. He reached into his pocket. Clara's heart stopped. A ring. Simple. Elegant. Nothing extravagant. Nothing that looked like a possession. Just a promise. Dante's voice became quiet. I won't ask you to belong to me. He held out the ring. I want you to choose me. Clara looked at him. The man who had once ordered an entire rooftop pool emptied because he thought she was about to be killed. The man who had terrified half of Chicago. The man who had learned, painfully, that protecting someone did not mean controlling them. She smiled. I choose you. Dante exhaled. For perhaps the first time in his life, he looked completely relieved. 1 year later, the rooftop pool looked different. White flowers surrounded the terrace. Soft lights reflected across the water. The Chicago skyline glowed beneath a clear evening sky. There were no armed guards surrounding the guests. No hidden assassins. No secrets. Clara stood at the edge of the pool wearing a simple ivory dress. Dante stood opposite her. No black suit this time. No weapon. No fear. He walked toward her. You remember the first day? Clara smiled. You mean the day you kicked everyone out because I accidentally entered your private pool? I didn't kick them out. You absolutely did. I was protecting you. You were terrifying. You weren't afraid. I was... He raised an eyebrow. Really? Clara smiled. I just didn't want you to know. Dante laughed quietly. The sound still surprised her. He reached for her hand. I thought that day was the beginning of the worst thing that could happen to me. And now? He looked at her. Now I think it was the luckiest mistake of my life. Clara squeezed his hand. The pool lights reflected across the water. Chicago stretched endlessly behind them. And somewhere far below, the city continued moving. Cars, sirens, lights. People who would never know that one of the most feared men in Chicago had once emptied an entire rooftop because one woman had accidentally wandered into his private space. They would never know that the first bullet had changed everything. They would never know that the Mafia Boss who had spent his life controlling everyone around him eventually discovered the one thing he could never control. Love. Dante leaned closer. Clara smiled. And this time, when he pulled her into his arms, there was no danger behind it. No enemy. No hidden gun. No reason to be afraid. Only the woman who had accidentally crossed a line. And the man who had fallen in love with her because she did. The rooftop pool remained the place where their story began. But it was no longer a place of fear. It was where Dante Romano had first learned that protecting someone did not mean keeping them trapped. It meant making sure they were safe enough to walk away. And loving them enough to let them choose whether they would come back. Clara had walked into his private world by accident. She stayed because, somewhere between the bullets, the secrets, and the nights overlooking Chicago, the most dangerous man in the city had become the safest place she had ever known. And Dent, he finally understood that the greatest power he would ever possess was not the ability to make an entire room obey him. It was the ability to look at the woman he loved and say, "You are free to leave," and know that she would choose to stay.